So clearly, you talk about a concept of personal resourcefulness, right?
Mm,
Which is really around how do I prepare myself? How do I have an adaptive mindset? That's something that you spoke about, that you write about and you speak about, right? Uh,
mm.
how do I measure that I'm getting better at it?
It's a great question. I think, you know, so there's a degree of self-awareness that I think is built in here, that so much of the self-permission is about a degree of self-awareness, right? And a
Mm,
conversation with self. So it's sort of, how am I managing change? How am I navigating change? And if, I would encourage people, and I talk in the book, and you reference that sort of whole body intelligence, I would say that somebody would be observant of their own thoughts and of their
mm,
own choice, kind of decision making patterns. So are you stuck in a cognitive loop around things? Are you burdened by indecision? Are you are you replaying sort of fearful thoughts or confused thoughts? Are you, is your brain sort of running on overdrive but not taking any action? One of
mm,
the things I talk about in the book is that permission is a gateway to action. So
mm,
I would say that anybody who is trying to measure their own resourcefulness would be looking at, how much am I thinking versus how much am I acting, right? And if
mm.
I'm just sitting in my own thoughts, then I'm not gaining any greater degree of resourcefulness. I need to be out. I need to be experiencing new things as a way of sort of catalyzing my own learning. I then look at my feelings.
Mm.
Like, and not with judgment, not with the analysis of some sort of therapist, but with the care and kindness to say, how am I feeling as
Mm.
I'm going through this? Am I feeling a sense of deep anxiety or insecurity or precariousness? Or am I feeling, you will feel afraid, you will feel uncertain, you will feel all those things. But if you are able to kind of carry those feelings forward and still be acting and reacting out in the world, then you're doing okay. You're not looking for the absence of complex emotions, you're looking for the presence of them alongside some forms of action that you're taking to move yourself forward. And then lastly, I talk so much about gut. I talk so much about instinct, and I would really encourage people to say, how much am I listening in and acting on that and feeling that sort of sense of almost a virtuous cycle of, instinct and action. And, you see me coming back to action a lot. So
Mm.
for me, the biggest thing would be that I'm out in the world
Mhm.
encountering new or different things. They don't have to be huge, but they are kind of new for me or different for me. And I'm finding my way through it. I am, coming out of them having, as I said in the book, I can moments like, hey, I did it. First time moments, never done that before moments. So it's not a ruminative process to become more resourceful. It's earned through action. And so, how much time am I spending doing new things? How much time am I spending out in the world learning and experiencing? That would be really important for me. And then I would check that against my own sort of internal process and the ways that I'm dealing with that.
Very nice. So literally, what you're telling me is, if I'm a lawyer or if I'm an accountant, uh, for example, or if I'm a technologist, if AI is actually all about reasoning, then my ability to understand philosophy as a technologist becomes very, very important. Therefore, I have to learn new things as a technologist,
Mm,
because everything is not about just rules and algorithms, but there's a lot of
mm,
reasoning. Therefore, I start, thinking about one of the permissions that you talk about in the book, which is take it outside, right? So
mm,
therefore, if I'm somebody who's a biology professional, I have to become a biotech professional. If I'm
mm,
a finance professional, I have to become a fintech professional. Okay, so clearly, take it outside is one of the permissions that you speak about. So is that something which is becoming critical for each one of us?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, it again, that's so I'm going to take us back to our operating system, which was, I learn something, I apply it for the rest of my life. I get sort of narrow and deep, and that's how I gain success. That's how I garner security. That's what I'm rewarded for. And that
Mm,
execution on a familiar and known set, of variables and ideas and capabilities was how we worked. And what
mm,
you've just pointed to is the fact that we already know much of that. Anything that can be replicated like that will be replaced. So
mm,
that's why, in the book, I say you need to see yourself as less of an executive and more as an explorer. And by
mm,
that, I mean you're not executing on the known, because anything that can be executed on is now easy pickings for something else.
mm,
You want to dial up your exploratory ability, that sort of willingness to step into and outside of your frame into other spaces, so that you become a little bit more receptive to the
mm,
unfamiliar. Your
mm,
curiosity continues to get fed.
mm,
All of these human capabilities that previously, when frankly we were rewarded for behaving like robots,
mm,
now we're going to be rewarded for behaving like humans. So that curiosity, that receptivity, that adaptability, I am an ongoing learner.
mm,
I am feeding and driving my own learning process. And I think that is sits at the heart of all of this, that if my old operating system told me that I went to university or I went to some sort of tertiary training, learned what I needed to know, and then executed that for the rest of my life, well, then you're in trouble. Your new operating system has to tell you that my ability to continually gain new understandings, new awarenesses, new capabilities is my competitive edge. And I would start in that. Again, I'll go back to my first permission: be willful. So in the first instance, what's interesting for you? What do you want
mm,
to know more about? And that can be super informal. That can be you sitting on your weekends looking online, learning. AI is an amazing education tool. So start teaching yourself. It doesn't have to immediately escalate up to, oh, now I need to go and get another degree, or I need to do a certificate course. Um, so yeah, that teachability, that learnability, that desire to learn and continually adapt and upskill and diversify my portfolio of knowledge and capabilities, that's critical right now.